wanted to talk about garden woes and then some health updates. Ended up back at the doctor again for something completely unrelated. And I actually have a funny story about that. I'm okay and I'm definitely getting better. But the first thing I wanted to talk about were just this spring in general. I feel like this spring has been really rough for me for health reasons as well as the weather, but for a lot of people it's the weather, and I think especially for like new gardeners who may not be aware that this is not normal. I promise this is not normal. I've been most of my friends are farmers, and I was talking to one of my friends today who was talking about standing water in her caterpillar tunnels. And I know I have another farmer friend who has posted pictures on social media about standing water in their tunnels. And another farmer of mine up north, he was talking about that he's been farming for 30 years and that this weather has just been so abnormal, and it's been so cold and so wet. And then there's a lot of gardeners, new and experienced, that are like, what am I gonna do? It's especially with like, I took one tray of peppers outside to the greenhouse, and I don't know if that was the best move or not. I would have preferred to have kept them inside longer, but I'm also outgrowing this, like many of you, I'm outgrowing the space that I have for them. And I ran into that with my tomatoes as well. And I know many of you, luckily, many of you are also dealing with the same thing. It's like you plan for a certain amount of time for your plants to be inside, and then it's a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And tomatoes, they double their size. I think it's every week or maybe 2 weeks, something like that. And they get so big, or yeah, like a lot of people are doing peas, and the weather right now, it's cold. Like it's not warming up. We've had like occasional warm days, but it's just not warming up enough for anything. Let's see, cucumber, peppers, and tomatoes, put some milk jugs on top of them. Yeah, no, that is an excellent point, especially if you've got tomatoes or peppers that are going out and you don't have a greenhouse or anything like that. You can put milk jugs over them to provide like a cloche. That's most popular in what's it called? Not winter gardening, winter sowing gardening. 8 weeks before established last frost was way too early. Yeah, I totally agree. It's crazy how long everything is taking, and I guess luckily and unluckily, I haven't started anything inside since my tomatoes and peppers and eggplant, of course. And so I started my summer squash already, but in little 3-inch containers out in the greenhouse. I did seed basil also in 72 trays in the greenhouse. And I did seed, if you saw my last video, or 2 videos, I did corn and beans also in containers. And so the corn isn't popping out yet. The beans aren't popping out. The cucumbers are actually. And so those will get transplanted into the greenhouse when they get bigger. But the problem is, especially for like, and I know I've mentioned this before, but like squash, pumpkins, anything in the cucurbiaceae family, is that they hate their roots being disturbed. And so if you have those plants inside and they're growing and growing, it's a tough call. I'm not trying to be too frustrated this summer. I'll be grateful. Yeah, I do agree with that. Is the one benefit of all the moisture, is that hopefully that carries through over into the summer with the soil holding the moisture and stuff like that. I actually just heard about an opportunity. I might be able to use a couple acres of down the road. Somebody had offered me. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it this year just because I have so much other stuff going on. I'm behind in everything, which is what I'm going to get back to. But but there it would be on borrowed land, and I wouldn't do the infrastructure that I have here. So I would be looking at dry farming. And so wetter springs are great for that. I think I would probably do crops that I don't have to tend as much, like sunflowers, not necessarily for cut gardens, though I could do that, but I think more for like feed for the animals and myself, and just being beautiful, and pumpkins and stuff like that. But I just found out about that opportunity over the weekend, so I'm still kind of mulling over like what I want to do with that. But I was saying that anything in the cucurbitaceae family really hates to have their roots disturbed. And so it's a tough call, because if you have plants inside that won't thrive or possibly even survive outside, but then they're also having trouble inside. And so I feel like that's where everyone's at. It's, what do you do with the plants, that you have inside or that you haven't started or whatever? And honestly, we've never, yeah, thank you. I am busy. It's a hard call, like I remember I made the first call with my tomatoes, and I decided to kick them out and put them in the greenhouse. And that was rough because they ended up doing fine, and I was lucky that I have the greenhouse. If the sun's out, it's easily 100 degrees in there. But like this past week, we've had like where the sun peaks out, but ultimately the sun's not out. And if the sun is not out, greenhouse is nothing. That's actually something that I feel like I should make a whole video on, just so that people understand. But like the heating mechanism of the greenhouse, the key component is the sun. And so if it's like an overcast day where there's no sun, the greenhouse will be about the same temperature, slightly higher humidity. But even if it's a cold day, but the sun's out, that greenhouse is gonna heat right up. And so for me, or Pacific Northwest in general, that's the difference in greenhouse growing versus a lot of other areas in the country. Like I have a friend in Colorado where their temperatures are consistently always colder than ours. But they have sun just consistent, like even when it's snowing, like the sun's out, and so therefore the greenhouse is always warm. But for me, it's like roulette, because if the sun's out, it's going to be so hot in there. But in days like today, where it's overcast and rainy, and well, basically like the last week, it just doesn't get as warm in there. And so things that are already established will do fine, of course, but it's hard in trying to get things to germinate and grow. And, it's been such a busy spring, and just with everything going on, and then adding to it with the weather, it's been crazy. So I guess I wanted to communicate to you guys, especially if you're a brand new gardener, this isn't normal spring weather, it at all. And it's not normally like this. Hopefully this isn't like the future of weather. I know it, moves around every year, but boy, this last year, last year has been we've had our hottest temperatures last summer, and then like our coldest temperatures in December right after Christmas. That was terrible. And now it's like our wettest spring. I saw the news said that of all the days in March, this was like 2 weeks ago or something, all the days in March at noon, it was 41 degrees. And it was like the third coldest day since they started in May at noon, since they started recording it or whatever. And so I just want to let you know, like, this isn't generally how it is. Usually people have more of their, more of their plants outside. Usually the sun's out and the weather's warmer. We still get a good amount of rain, but I honestly feel like I heard somewhere, and I haven't fact checked it, that we've reached our quota for the whole year already, which is crazy. But anyway, so I just wanted to share that with you. If you're frustrated with the way the weather's going, I just wanted you to know that like you're not alone, and this is abnormal. And even when you take time, like with planning and stuff like that, sometimes it doesn't always go as as you mean to. And, that's how nature can be, right? The other thing I wanted to share, it's raining outside, so I thought it was perfect for a live, but I wanted to share a health update. So the last time, I promise I'm not trying to make a habit of having health incidences and then doing a live. But the last time I did a live was after I had severe vertigo, and that was really scary. And after that I had about a week of kind of like dizziness or whatever, but I started feeling better and everything was fine. I'm still nervous about like, dancing or whatever, because I was doing the twist earlier that day and there was a lot of like shaking and stuff. And so I don't think it caused it, but just being silly about it. But then I wanted to share. So I had this like spreading skin infection thing apparently. So about 5 months ago ish, I noticed that I've got a band-aid on it, but I noticed that I had like a little bit of like a lump right there that I thought was like it was skin colored. It wasn't tender, it wasn't warm, anything like that. So I figured it was just like a little cyst or something. And, whenever I made it to the doctor, I'd have them check it out. But then a couple weeks ago or several weeks ago, when I was at the emergency room for the severe vertigo, they put an IV in and also drew blood from the same arm right here. And then about, I don't know, let's see, I went to the doctor's this past Friday, so a couple days ago. I think maybe about Wednesday, I started noticing that it was getting tender, like I was pulling weeds. And I looked at it and the swelling was kind of red. And I was like, huh, that's weird. Like maybe I agitated it. Like, pulling weeds I'm in the area of the garden that was neglected last year. So it's like basically just going to a random place in like a forest and just like, oh, okay, I'll pull weeds. So it's like not easy work. And then the next day I noticed that it was way red and it was really tender to the touch. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And I was going to go to the hospital or the doctor that evening, like the walk-in clinic. But my daughter had track and volleyball and my stomach hurt really bad. So I was like, oh, I'll just go the next day. And so that was on Thursday evening. I should have gone Thursday evening, but it was a lot. So I ended up going Friday evening. But Friday during the day, I noticed that it was way more swollen. I don't know if you can see for those that just joined. I have a Band-Aid over it now and it looks a million times better. But like I had a little bump there and it was way bigger, red, tender. But not only that, I had like red crawling up my arm, and I didn't think of that as a cause for alarm. And obviously I should have. I just thought like, I don't know, I was reading Google, right? Trying to like diagnose myself. And I was reading that it could have been just what's the word? It's when a cyst is like disrupted. No, not disrupted, but basically disrupted, like that. I was like, well, I was aggressively pulling weeds. It's right there. Sometimes that elbow hurts me a little bit, like it's probably nothing. But I was like, oh, I'll go to the walk-in clinic, local in Stanwood just to see. And so I was sitting there and I got in right before closing and the doctor was like, have you ever had MRSA? Now, this isn't, well, I'll get to that in a second. And she's like, have you ever had MRSA? Also, P.S., that doctor was absolutely amazing. Like Dr. Diller, absolutely amazing. And I was like, no, I haven't, and she's like, well, we're going to do like a little biopsy thing and send it in. She's like, it looks like a spreading skin infection. And I hadn't really thought about like when the red was like climbing up my arm. It's not there now, but when it was like climbing up my arm. So if you ever have like a skin thing and like the red is like growing, I guess that's really bad. I didn't quite think about it, And so she said, so they did a biopsy, which hurt so bad, and took some of the fluid from inside of it and of like the little bump cyst area thing. And and sent it off. She was really thinking it because, like I'd mentioned, I had that IV and they took blood 3 weeks ago, and it's right next to that. And I guess MRSA is something that you like typically get from hospitals or something like that. And for me, I haven't left the farm or been anywhere else because after my vertigo, I find that I get a little dizzy when I ride in the car. So honestly, I haven't been anywhere to like, I don't have a lot of exposure. I'm just always in the garden, you know? And so anyway, so she said she was going to test for that. And then she gave me an order for a prescription for antibiotics. And she said to get those started right away. And she said that she'll call me again. My appointment was Friday evening. So she said she'd call me either Saturday or Sunday when they get the test results. And if it is MRSA, that they will likely have to switch my antibiotic. And I was like, okay. And I was kind of freaked out. And so I went and got my prescription and came home. And so the next day on Saturday, I found I did not Google MRSA because I always, Googling any symptom is like always the worst, right? And I was like, oh, I just don't want to go through that. But this is kind of where it's kind of funny, silly, whatever. And like, I can laugh at it now. But I thought that MRSA was absolutely fatal. Like, and I didn't Google it. And so I just went with my feelings. So when she told me that it might be MRSA and that it had all the signs, I was at the doctor, I had the IV, which is one of the most common ways to get it. And so I had literally thought that it was like a death sentence. And I didn't realize that a lot of people get it and recover. And I guess it's when you get like blood when the blood is infected with MRSA, like that's where it's like a 50% mortality rate. But I couldn't even process all of that. And then I was talking to Joy on Saturday and I was like, what am I going to do? Like I was checking my chart all the time. Or no, it was my dad had called and he was saying something, I don't remember. And he's like, most people get, better or whatever. And I was like, but I thought that it was fatal. And he's like, no, not, well, he's like, it could be, but like not generally. And I was like, oh. And so then I had to deal with that. Like that was just a misunderstanding, obviously. I would have thought the same thing. Right? Yeah. No, I was a nervous wreck. Like earlier that day on Friday, I had sent out my emails to all of my CSA members to ask them if they wanted to renew. And I was just thinking that at night. I was laying in bed and I was like, I just confirmed everybody for a summer full of vegetables and like now I'm gonna die. But so I didn't receive a call from them on Saturday or Sunday and saying if it was MRSA or not or anything like that. The antibiotics made me really sick, like they hurt my stomach, though I think it might have been the kefir because I hate taking antibiotics. I'm not anti-medicine at all. Like I'll always take like what's needed, but I don't want to take like extra medicine, if that makes sense. Like if I just had like a little cold, like I wouldn't be like, oh, let me just take antibiotics in addition. But if I need something, then I'll definitely take it. You know what I mean? And so, but they were bothering my stomach, but I've been trying to do all the probiotics and eat like extra healthy and try and replenish like the gut bacteria because I was so proud because it's been so long since I've had antibiotics before. And so I was so proud of like my gut bacteria, but and now it's Monday. And so I started taking them on Friday. And so the redness, I'd actually on my own, I felt very Grey's Anatomy. When it started happening, I had outlined it in pen and they told me because that was the other thing. My skin on my arm was 96 degrees, like on my upper arm and my lower arm, but right like where the bump was, which again, I have a Band-Aid on it, but right where the bump was 98 degrees and my forehead was 98 degrees. So I didn't have a fever, but that area was warmer than the surrounding skin. And that's never a good sign. But the redness like started like disappearing like over, I'd I'd say really a little bit on Saturday, but Saturday into Sunday it started because it was like, I don't know, up to here or whatever. Like, I don't know if you can see it. Like, it was like a solid wall of like red that was like growing up my arm, which also was really freaky. And so now it's just same colored, which is good. And so I'm happy about that. And I'm feeling a lot better. Yesterday I had a couple like little spurts of energy. And so I was really excited to like feel a little better because this spring, like it feels like in combination between the weather and like health stuff, like it feels really overwhelming. And I wanted to be transparent with that because I know it's really easy to look like everything is so easy and I think we all think that everyone else has life figured out and whatever. But there are challenges. Like every farmer I know is behind on schedule as far as crops and all the gardeners I've talked to as well. And for me, I had like I say I broke my ankle. I didn't necessarily break my ankle, but I hurt my ankle. And then I had like the dizziness thing and now this, and it just feels sorry, I could hear a delivery. I think I ordered a cedar, an earthway cedar, and I had just ordered 45,000 carrot seeds. Which, it's crazy. Let me grab it for you real quick. Oh, where is it? Sorry, I wasn't trying to like run away, but I wanted to show you. So with the weather being so wet, it's like rots a lot of the carrot seeds. And so I've really been struggling, and I usually plant by hand. And I'm like, okay, I can't do that. That's going to drive me crazy. So I ordered 45,000 carrot seeds. Obviously it's for, of course, summer and going into spring. But what's interesting is this package alone is 25,000 seeds, which, I mean, it's big, but it's not like monstrous. And then these packs are all 5,000. And so I ordered Mokum, Romance, Napoli, Dragon, which are the purple ones. I'm trying that one for the first time. And then Bolero. But so I think I heard the cedar being delivered. It got delivered at a separate time. But yeah, so I'm feeling a lot better today, finally. And I think I might actually get out to the garden. I know it's been raining, so it'll be greenhouse work. I have the students coming tonight or today, sorry. My farm is partnered with the local transitional high school. And so that works with special needs kids who are between the ages of 19 and 21 in helping them and whatever their passion is. With the kids that I work with, it's agriculture. And so they get experience working one-on-one in a setting, and they come with a job coach. And so like working on building things like we've planted garlic, we've done peas, planted the peas, we've planted potatoes, we've done transplanting, lots of seeding, planted the rhubarb. There's a lot of things that we've done. And so they get like pictures and stuff like that. And that helps them build a resume and their knowledge that will help them in securing a job, like a full-time, long-lasting job. And so that's really awesome. I'm so honored to be a part of that. But it also, it's hard because then when I feel a lot better today, but I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. And so I was concerned about being able to show up and be there because I've had, through all these health things I've had, they come twice a week. And I remember when I had my ankle problems and like I was on crutches and it was hard to demonstrate things. And then, that is such a cool collaboration. Yeah, honestly, it's one of like the proudest moments like of my farm is working with that organization and giving back, right? Because that's always important to me. But yeah, so I guess I'll wrap the video up soon. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and put them in and I'll see them as they come up. But I just wanted to recap and say that this spring for me has been really stressful and with problems left and right and with my health, which I never really like. I've never gotten sick in my life. Real like I've never, interesting fact, I've never had the flu. Not that I'm aware of, at least, unless I had asymptomatic flu, but I've never in my life had the flu. Like I just don't get sick. And so it's to have like a string of like, and I've never even really been like, I've never in my life had a primary care physician. I just go to the walk-in whenever I need something, which is like once every couple years. Like I don't have health problems. But this spring's been a doozy and the weather has been terrible. All the water is flooded. Like I know so many different gardeners and farmers who are saying like half of their greenhouse is underwater and how they're going to plant tomatoes. And, like it's just, or that everything's dying inside. Like it can't be inside. It can't go outside. Like, what do you do? Like, I don't know, like, conquer and divide and put half out, leave half in and see what happens. Like, it's been really rough. So I just wanted to be transparent and share kind of like what's going on with me. And then if you're having a hard time, like, you can always reach out or whatever, or just know that like you're not alone or whatever. So I think if there are not any questions, I think that I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I don't think so. I don't know just how to tell if anyone's typing. And then I'm just on my phone. I'm in my kitchen, kitchen and dining room. Interesting fact about me, I live in a tiny house. My whole house is 900 square feet. And there are 4 of us that live here. And I love it. I love just a simple, tiny house. Right now in front of me, what the camera is on is our deep chest freezer, which also doubles as a counter. And I love like small, simple, like living. I like that I can mop my entire floor by hand in like 10 minutes, I like that. But anyway, so here's part of my house. But yeah, so thank you for watching. And if you have any questions that I didn't address in the video, you can comment those down below. And happy spring and happy gardening. Bye.